Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hey everyone, welcome to another video on the JayBee
Hello.
and Milly channel. Today we are reviewing the final episode of this series, The Spirits of 76. So, JayBee, plot summary.
I don't have a plot summary, it's the same as last
You
one.
make one up on the spot.
So, Scooby and the gang, there's another issue with the Mystery Machine. They
There
go
wasn't
to...
an issue with the Mystery Machine.
Is there not?
No.
Oh, well, they go to a location and they see naked mannequins. But they're not naked, they've got pyjamas on. And then a creepy guy from the ceiling goes, ha 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 ha, Mystery Inc. And they need to find out who they are.
Okay.
Lovely.
Lovely. Let me direct this one a little bit, JayBee.
You know, he was having a giggle in the rafters. And you know what I mean?
And you fell asleep from there, didn't you?
No, I fell asleep in the last 2 minutes because I felt delirious.
You keep telling yourself that. Okay, so...
Hey, look at that. You can't look at the ground and speak. What do you think this is?
Okay, so we start off with the Mystery Machine in the rain, very much kind of similar to the last episode. They're on the way to some location. Shaggy's had this concept of them all going to visit. I think it's a transport museum. You see different kind of like planes, cars, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a choo-choo train.
Yeah, so ultimately they arrive there, there's no visitors, and we're told by the night guard that it's because of all these kind of hauntings and spirits and no one's wanting to be around. So the gang starts to kind of look around at everything, and Shaggy's convinced he sees one of the Waxworks moves. So ultimately, this kind of concept, I kind of enjoy it because it's kind of like a reverse. We often see Shaggy and Scooby kind of decorating themselves as like statues and stuff, and kind of like that's how they outrun villains and everything. So it's kind of cool to see that concept reversed a little bit.
If this episode was made today, it would be called Night at the Boo-zeum.
Okay. So again, we're in a place where we see three villains. There's three Waxworks. So kind of seeing a lot of rinse and repeat from the last episode, I guess, getting towards the end, perhaps running out of concepts and everything. But ultimately, I'm not seeing anything inherently wrong with it to this point.
These aren't that good though, because obviously you can criticise the ones in the last episode as being like reskinned Phantom Shadows, but the Phantom Shadow is such an iconic villain, such an iconic character that just doing it again is fine. But this time, we just got three geezers.
Okay.
So it was a bit less compelling.
This is what I like, JayBee.
Well, no.
Some form of argument, because I'm going to disagree with you.
So you'd rather three old geezers than a spooky spectre?
I prefer this concept to the last one. It's three original villains.
They're not original. It's Geezer.
Ones.
It's Geezer 1, Geezer 2,
It's
Geezer 3.
Waxworks. At least we're not seeing reskinned things like, oh, we'll just put something in a different colour and it'll convince everyone it's different. Like, I prefer this.
But why?
Well, I just think there's more of a plot to it as well. So Scooby falls through the trapdoor. Everyone's kind of worried about where he is. They're kind of asking security guards about where he is and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of a bit more of a plot, a bit more of a concept. The plot's kind of on a more technical level because there's this kind of time lock where if you don't get out of the museum by this point, you're there overnight, you can't leave. So that kind of, I don't know, it's something that adds more of a concept to it. Ultimately, thus far, I'm definitely preferring this episode.
I don't know. I think there's interesting mechanics, there's just things that they can't express at this moment in time. So the main focal point, or one of the main focal points, is one of the machines that they kind of turn on and off. They have kind of wacky fun with it. And one of the elements of it that I thought was pretty clever was the fact that it was an old machine, but a new cog on the top of it, which is fine. And when Fred points it out or Shaggy points it out, it zooms in on the cog and it has a little sparkle, which is fine. But I think the issue is there's nothing to indicate in terms of the animation level at that time that there was a difference all throughout the episode until that point. So it was a bit like they're saying stuff, there's clever concepts, but it's like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense because they've just showed us that now.
Yeah.
It was a bit they can't, and I guess it's not their fault, but it was a bit difficult for them to say, oh, maybe we could point that out at the start. The only thing we really can point out for ourselves beforehand is the revolving door, because the carpet around it is like a bright lilac circle versus the dark purple floor. That's about it.
That's fair. I guess another issue I'm kind of having with this series as a whole, it's almost like the mentality was, unless we make the villain glow, they're not going to know it's a villain. Because when they were stood as waxworks, there wasn't any glow around them. They fit in well. But when that guy's looking down the trapdoor, and from there on in, they had this weird yellow glow to them that I just don't feel's necessary.
Yeah, you know what else is stupid in that regard? But I will admit I'm going to contradict it immediately. It was like the writers didn't trust kids to understand who the villain is going to be or who the villain is consistently, or they want to hammer home what the villains are called. I don't remember what the villains are called, but let's say it's like Colonel Iron Man. Every time they show up, it's, yikes, it's the ghost of Colonel Iron Man. Every time they see them running towards, jeepers, it's the ghost of Colonel Iron Man. It's like, if you rewatch it, it's actually ridiculous. They can't have the ghost show up without one character going, oh no, it's the ghost of Colonel Iron Man.
Well, see, this is where it gets interesting, because in this episode, it's like they've given it such a formal identity of the name and everything that they want to brand it. They want you to be able to get the toy of Colonel Iron Man or whatever it was. Whereas with the last one, it was like, oh, we don't really care, we'll just add an old villain with a different colour on the top and not give it any name other than Strawberry Ice Cream Man. It's so contradictory. It's kind of like, in one regard, they want all the villains to stand alone, you go and buy the toys, and in others, it's kind of like, oh, we can just pass this off as something really basic and simple, and then not give it a name because we just want to brush over it, that it's a repeat, not draw too much attention.
But that's crazy, because if I'm a kid, even now, I would rather collect all 3 Ice Cream Phantoms as plushies, Funkos, T-shirts, than here's an action figure of Colonel Iron Man. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like they're reversing it. Well,
that's the thing, you have to, something about the last episode which is so annoying, they literally just called it the strawberry ice cream thing. So when we now have this Funko soda, 30, 40 years later, it's called, still called the Phantom Shadow Chase. Do you know what I mean? It's not called, oh yeah, that's that villain. We don't know what its name is, it's just the Phantom Shadow reskin.
To be fair,
that's all it is, yet this one had to have such a specific name.
To be fair though, even if we did, Funko's a bit weird. This is a conversation for another time, so don't interrupt me. But Scooby Doo should not have been a Scooby Doo chase. That should have been its own thing. So even if there was this massive identity, the Strawberry Phantom was this great standalone character, Funko probably still would have put him as a Phantom Shadow Chase just because of the similarities.
Well, you've told me not to interrupt you, but I am going to disagree because look at how well Sophie transformed that Scooby statue we have up there into a Scooby Doo one.
In fact, we need to send our love.
So transferable that I can see why it was done, and I completely agree with it.
I don't know. I would rather just a flock Scooby Doo just because the can. I want a Scooby Doo can.
Yeah, but they're not going to make every variant. You could say, I want a Captain Cutler one. I want a Luna Ghost one. They're not going to make them all. It was a way to get more variants. Wouldn't you prefer having the Scooby Doo as the chase, and that instead of it being a flocked one and never having a Scooby Doo at all?
%.
Exactly.
Oh, but then I think there's more obscure characters. We will debate this another time.
Yeah, we can debate this another time, but you have to acknowledge there's no way that if it wasn't, we'd ever get a Scooby-Doo because...
I think we could.
We only have one Daphne, Velma and Fred after 50 years.
Yeah, see, that's mad.
After 50 years, we have one variant. You're not going to get another one. Don't rely on them to think they're going to do other things.
Lola Bunny Daphne.
Yeah,
We have Bugs Bunny Fred Jones.
Yeah, but we could have a What's New Daphne.
Yeah, we're 2002 Daphne. Mm-hmm. Oh, we could have every Daphne. A million Daphnes. This room could be full of Daphnes. Did they not even do
one for Scoob?
No, they did. That's so stupid. They did a massive premium deluxe set that had them in that I'm going to get one day. But in terms of the standard Funkos, it was only Kid Shaggy and Puppy Scooby.
Yeah, that's stupid. Anyway, progressing on.
It's whack.
There's then a big chase scene. We get a very extensive chase scene. And this is the first time I actually appreciate the music in this series. I was like, oh yeah, this is the chase song. Woo, it's happening. never actually paid attention to it before. I think it's because I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the last one. I'm kind of, because this series seems to have dragged itself out quite significantly. I'm kind of happy that we're getting towards the end, to be fair. But then we find that the bad guys have been digging to the mint where they print all the American banknotes or whatever, and that was their motive.
Maybe the American episodes don't land with me. Because I don't get the context. So these are, what are they? These geezers.
Right. So
like, are they meant to be Confederate soldiers? Are they Civil War soldiers?
We'll say they are. We'll say the whatever. Right. Okay. So say they're that, and they are hiding in a museum. So we'll make this like the UK
Oh
feed.
no! See, now
say they're hiding in a museum in London, right?
Oh God.
Because they want to go to where your banknotes are printed. You know the money that you have in your wallet? They want to go to where that's printed. They want to go to where that's printed, and that's 2 doors down from the museum.
Oh, jeez.
So if they stay in overnight, they can like tunnel under and get to take the money from the print.
What an episode. I meant the ghosts, because Shaggy calls them like colonial creeps. I don't know what colonial means. Do they make coffee? Like, what is a colonial creep? Is it like a Republican? Like, what? I don't understand America.
No, I can't say I fully do either. But look, it's what it is.
Is it like Columbo?
One thing that I think sets this episode as a higher look, because we were like debating if this one or the last one was better. I think something that makes this one a bit better is, you know, where they get that fun scene where they get to ride on the exhibits. Like, they get to go in the cars and stuff like that. For me, that's very Night at the Museum-y, kind of like, if you were in a museum on your own overnight, what would you actually do? And they get to like ride on all these fun things. Yeah, I liked it.
I don't know. I kind of feel the last episode squat over this episode and took a dump on it. Like, I don't know. This wasn't a bad episode. It captivated me more than a few of the others, but I still fell asleep at the end of it. I just don't know. I think the monsters. I love the phantoms. I love the different colours. I don't know. Some Ebenezer Scrooge looking guy looking like the conductor from like the night bus, or not the night bus, what am I thinking of? The Polar Express running after me going would like do much for me. I don't know.
Okay, so we get to the unmasking, and again it's the night guard, kind of the same as the last episode.
Larry Daly.
So JB, with that in mind, is this one a smash or pass?
You know what? I'm gonna have to pass this one.
What are you? You're just saying that because I told you I like this episode.
No, I hand on heart and my integrity. I'll have to pass the Spirits of 76.
Spirits.
The Spirits, yeah. Hey, Spirit. Because I'm not a big fan of Spirits, and 76, I don't know, man. It's just not for me. It's not for me. It wasn't an awful episode, but I couldn't, like, if I had, like, I've got this now in a situation, I'm thinking about it in my realm, in my reality. We've got the YouTube app. We've purchased the whole of season 1 of the Scooby Doo show on there now. I never see myself going, oh, I'm in the mood for this episode.
I disagree. For me, this is a very strong smash.
Ooh.
This is one of the ones from this series I'd be most likely to come back to. Definitely my top 3.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with you, but I like that.
So that's how we conclude this series, disagreeing as
always. A bit of conflict, but that sets us up perfectly for a series that no doubt will be disagreeing with each other. Actually, I don't even know if we will be disagreeing with each other.
So let's start with this first, okay? So that was the end of this series. JB, what was your thoughts on the series as a whole?
It was alright.
I think it's one we've had to fight through a bit more than we have.
I think it's the one that's disappointed me the most, because Scooby Doo, Where Are You? I've always been not anti-Puritan nature, but I've had that little rebellious streak of anti-Puritity where I've gone, I'm going into this expecting to go, hey, maybe it's not as good as people like thought it was. Equally, the new Scooby-Doo movies was never one that I knew apart from the Batman episode, and so I was thinking, I'm going to go into this with a negative mindset. It's just going to be more of Where Are You, which again I didn't hate, but I had so low expectations for that when it got onto season 2 of the music, I was like, wow, this is really cool. Low expectations for the new Scooby-Doo movies, that when it opened up and I wasn't hating the guests, there were more locations, more vibrant backgrounds. I was surprised. This one, though,
it's been a bit of a slog.
I can remember vividly as a child. This intro of the Scooby Doo show was the one that I watched the most. I remember every time the Scooby Doo show was on TV, I would watch it, and so I had the fondest memories of this series. That when it kind of underwhelmed me a bit, like I think it's all about expectations. Like I thought that this was gonna be the what's new of the classic era, and probably in many ways it is, but it just wasn't what I remembered, and so I think because I had high expectations, it just disappointed me that way. If I came into it with the same mindset that I came into the others, maybe I'd enjoy it more. What about you? What says you?
I think the thing with this series is like it's felt more difficult to get through, but I think there's been surrounding factors as well. Like obviously, I think if we looked at the Smash or Pass as we were doing before we moved out, so this time last year, it was kind of like, what else do we have to dedicate our energy and attention to? Neither of us were working, stuff like that. But I think these Smash or Passes seem to have got harder purely on the basis of surrounding factors as well. The energy is going to like work and long days and stuff like that. And like, so I think it's had other things to compete with, but I do think that it's dragging.
I think if it was still the movies, it would be easier. I think any series, obviously, it would have decreased. But I think if it was still the movies, it would have been more like you were quite into work in October, right? A few months in. But the second Trick or Treat dropped, it was like, oh my gosh, yeah, we're gonna talk about this. Like, there's something about movies that you know what I mean? You just don't know what to expect.
Well, the thing with movies is if you don't like one, you're on to the next one. Whereas if you don't like a series, not that I didn't like this series, but if there's just something that's not resonating with you the way that others do, you're stuck with that.
Yeah, like
for 12 episodes.
You kind of
for 3
hated
weeks.
the heck out of the WWF crossovers, but then it's Camp Scare next. I've heard good things about that. If you were disappointed by Camp Scare, Mask of the Blue Falcon, that sounds interesting. That sounds different from Camp Scare. Like, there's just so much variety.
Speaking on that, I want to do a Smash or Pass of Courage.
Courage?
Not Courage. Crypto.
Oh, I don't know. That's a bit dicey, but I wouldn't hate it. A bit. I wouldn't hate it. Though.
Okay.
What?
Just looking at you.
No, it's alright. It's just a bit dicey. But it's alright. We can do that in another time. Okay,
so what's coming up next? Now we finished this series, we are doing the Q&A.
Oh.
I think by the time this goes out, it will have been recorded, so question submission will be done.
Yeah, I did my last chance saloon.
We will be doing another Q&A after the next series, which I think we're switching things up a little bit here to try and get you some more consistency and us some more enjoyment from this entire process. I think now we're moving to Velma and working our way back, because ultimately I think we've been in this era for a while, and I think to keep it going we both need a refresh.
Yeah, but I want to say, if you're watching this, and like we've never marketed the show or the channel as a kids show or a kids channel, right? But in terms of keeping things like
PG.
Inclusive and whatever, the episode of the review will never be more inappropriate than the actual episode itself. So it's not like, oh, because it's Velma, we're gonna Jeff.
I mean, I think it's fair to say that there's not going to be it's not going to be more inappropriate than your review of 2002.
Oh no, but I had a disclaimer at the start of that.
So, I think we're saying.
Well, in terms of language and expletives, if Velma says crap, we can say crap. That's it. It's the baseline. But ultimately, we'll be fine. But yeah, that 2002. We should review that again.
No.
Why not?
Because I don't want to watch it with you ever again.
Really?
You're a perverted simp, and I
hate
you.
No, that's inappropriate. So, the season 1 of the Scooby Doo show. What did you guys think of it? Comment down below your top 5 episodes. And yeah, comment down below what you are expecting from our reviews of Velma. And if you do want to see more, then please like, comment, and subscribe.
JayBee and Milly.